This is Bill Sang, the author of the Giganotus Rex series. You can find links to purchase the Giganotus Rex books at williamhsang.com, and Sang is Seng. Or you can go to amazon.com. You can find books there. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Enjoy the show. The Wrath of Giganotus Rex by Bill Sang. Chapter 2. The Assignment. My name is William Martin Stevens. I'm a reporter for Global Media, stationed in Midland. There is much that led up to the disaster that I recorded, and I think it would be wise to make you aware of why Giganotus Rex destroyed Utopia. The world I live in is a much different place from the one you are familiar with. The year is Modern Era, or ME 1096. I resided in the city of Midland, where the world's central media outlet was located. Global media is divided up into local stations which revolve around the singular worldwide network. I work for the global network, but the news is the same no matter where you listen. My influence reaches far and penetrates deep into the hearts and minds of readers. For me, this adventure began the day that I received reports that the villagers of Orwell were planning a revolt against the rulers. I approached my editor to see if I could pursue details on the story. Now, George, my editor, is all right. My only complaint about him is that he is not very ambitious. He knows that the rulers only want us to release information that falls under their strict criteria. One of the most important rules is that the information cannot cast criticism upon them or make them look bad. I kind of felt like the nature of the story could be taken in a negative direction toward the rulers, but I thought it was better to ask and know than to never ask and never know. George, I've got big news, but I think I need to keep it quiet. I spoke with excitement in my voice. George rolled his eyes at me as though we had done this before. What's that, Bill? I replied, a reliable friend of mine has informed me that the villagers want to mount a strike against the rulers. George sighed. Bill, you know this is one of those things that could get you in big trouble, right? I responded, I totally understand. If this gets out too early, the consequences could be costly. Look, I don't have to put anything out yet. All I want to do is gather information. Ask around, see what people have heard, maybe even ask them if they believe such a revolution could take place. George became physically uncomfortable with the idea. To me, it sounds like you are overstepping your bounds. This isn't the first time you've done something like this. I'm telling you, one of these days you are going to go sniffing down the wrong path, and that's the last anyone will hear of you. To me, that almost sounded like a threat. I chose to ignore that aspect of it and continue the conversation. Worth the risk, I suppose. Nobody would notice if I was gone anyway. That's a lie, and you know it. George had a smirk on his face. Admit it, though, I contested. If I vanished, you'd replace me, and our readers would forget I even existed after 2 days of my absence. All I'm saying is, I wouldn't miss you. He still had the smirk on his face. You cause enough trouble as it is. I'll check with my superiors to see if I can okay this. Then I will get back with you and let you know what they've decided. Thank you, George. That's all I can ask of you. I had a little bit of enthusiasm in my voice, enough to say that I wanted the assignment, but not so much as to suggest I would stop at nothing to get it. Thus far, this conversation probably seems bizarre to you. What I found bizarre was that they were actually considering this pursuit. The government doesn't like stories about dissent against their benevolence. They work hard to keep us safe and well-fed. To think that they would need to waste their time with the rabble of lower-class citizens is absurd. What surprised me more was how quickly George got back to me. A few days had passed since our conversation. I was working in my office when George came by and surprised me. I didn't see him behind me when he said my name. Bill! I jumped a little. Yes, sir! I was a little embarrassed that I jumped at the sound of his voice. He chuckled and shook his head. "Come into my office." I followed him in. I couldn't tell if it was good news or bad news. Being in George's office never felt like a good thing. It's very difficult to read him, and his mood can change mid-sentence. I started to feel very uncomfortable after the door closed behind me. This was a sign that the order of business was utmost importance. He walked behind his desk and sat down. "Bill," he folded his hands and looked right into my eyes. "You'll be pleased to know that not only were my superiors okay with your request, they wanted to remove any boundaries from allowing you to gather all of the information you need. Essentially, they want you to operate as an agent of the state." I was a little shocked. "How so?" "What do you mean?" I fearfully and wonderfully asked. He stood up and began to pace. He looked down at the floor as he began to talk. "Villagers don't have media the way that we do. They won't know who you are or even think twice that you might be an agent of the state. We want you to travel to Orwell and gather information about whatever revolt they might be planning. Stay as long as you need to and gather as much as you feel necessary. All of your expenses will be covered by the rulers." I couldn't believe my luck. "That's incredible. Thank you. I very much appreciate you vouching for me." Now, don't thank me." His face became more serious. "I thought this was a horrible idea. Others felt it might be a good opportunity to gather information. All the same, thank you." I shook his hand with great excitement. "I will prepare for the assignment and my relocation as soon as possible." "Sure, do that," said George with apathy in his voice. By the end of the week, I was packed and ready to go. I was excited about my new assignment and was bound and determined to do my part to gather the intelligence the government desperately needed. I hadn't the slightest thought that anything out of the ordinary was going to happen.